Greater than, across the wide expanse of American history, there are families whose very names seem shadowed by tragedy, scandal, and death. Some say these families were cursed, damned from their earliest days on this soil. Tonight, we journey into the darkened corridors of their stories, where superstition and fact blur, and where every branch on the family tree drips with dread. Drop of Blood Chapter 1, The Bell Witch and the Bell Family Curse. Narrator. Greater than, in the rolling hills of early 19th century Tennessee, the Bell family seemed ordinary. John Bell, a farmer of modest means, moved his wife Lucy and children to a quiet patch of land in Robertson County. But in 1817, something stirred, something malevolent. The Bell Witch, as she would be called, whispered in the dark, scratched at the walls, and slapped the children in their sleep. Greater than, the family's torment grew more vicious. Neighbors heard disembodied voices cursing them. John Bell suffered fits of a mysterious illness. By 1820, he lay dead, poisoned, it was rumored, by the witch herself. At his funeral, that unseen voice cackled and mocked the prayers. Greater than, generations of Bells who stayed near the land spoke of strange sounds, sightings of a spectral woman draped in black, and sudden calamities. Some descendants fled the county altogether, swearing the curse followed only those who stayed too close to the haunted ground. Greater than, was it guilt over land disputes? Mass hysteria? Or did a genuine curse seed itself so deeply into the Bell bloodline that escape became impossible, except by flight? Crescent Moon Chapter 2, The Bender Family, America's first serial killer family. Narrator. Greater than, if the Bells were victims of a curse, the Benders of Kansas may have been the very embodiment of evil. In the 1870s, the Bender family settled near the Great Osage Trail. They opened a humble inn for travelers, a place where many checked in, but few checked out. Greater than, guests vanished into the prairie. Locals whispered of disappearances, but the prairie could swallow men whole, and life was cheap. That is, until the trail of missing men led directly to the Benders' door. Greater than, when authorities finally searched the homestead, they unearthed the horror: bodies buried in the orchard, skulls caved in with blunt force. The family had nailed a canvas curtain behind the dinner table. Guests were seated with their backs to it. While they ate, one of the Benders would hammer a maul into their skull, another slit the throat to finish the job. Greater than, the Benders fled, vanishing forever. Some say the family was caught and lynched in secret, others say they escaped to live under new names. But the Bender name itself became cursed, haunting local folklore and passing down whispered fears among distant kin, none of whom ever dared claim the blood openly. Fire Chapter 3, The Winchester Mystery, a mansion built by madness. Narrator. Greater than, not all curses strike with violence alone. Some coil themselves around the mind, whispering guilt and dread until reason itself rots away. Greater than, Sarah Winchester inherited millions after her husband, William Wirt Winchester of rifle fame, died. But with the fortune came horror. It was said the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles demanded retribution. Greater than, tormented by guilt and a psychic's warning, Sarah began building. And she never stopped. For 38 years, day and night, carpenters built staircases that led nowhere, doors that opened into walls, rooms hidden within rooms. The Winchester Mystery House became a sprawling labyrinth of over 160 rooms. Greater than, Sarah believed constant construction would appease the spirits or confuse them so they could never find her. She died in 1922, leaving behind a house that feels alive, where visitors claim cold spots follow them, doorknobs rattle by unseen hands, and distant footsteps echo through empty hallways. Greater than, was Sarah truly cursed? Or did grief and guilt conjure a curse more powerful than any ghost, a curse of the mind? Herb Chapter 4, The Dudleytown Curse, a family lost to the woods. Narrator. Greater than, in the shadowed forests of Connecticut sits Dudleytown, a ghost town now fenced off and forbidden. The Dudleys, descendants of a cursed English lineage, settled there in the 18th century. The town quickly gained a dark reputation. Greater than, crop failures, strange madness, and unexplained deaths stalked the settlers. By the early 1800s, nearly all the Dudleys had died, vanished into the woods, or gone insane. Neighbors spoke of a darkness that crept across the town as if the very soil was poisoned. Greater than, generations later, thrill seekers who trespass at night report strange lights, disembodied voices, and overwhelming feelings of despair. Some claim to see figures darting between the gnarled trees. Greater than, the Dudleytown curse remains an American legend, a warning that some places, and some family histories, are better left buried under moss and time. Coffin Chapter 5, The Kennedy Curse, Power, Tragedy, and Fate. Narrator. Greater than, perhaps America's most famous cursed family sits not in rural darkness, but under the harshest spotlights of power, the Kennedys. Greater than, the tragedies began with Joseph Kennedy Jr., killed in World War II. His sister Kathleen died in a plane crash in 1948. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. 5 years later, his brother Robert met the same fate. Greater than, the next generation fared no better. John F. Kennedy Jr. died in a plane crash in 1999. David Kennedy overdosed. Michael Kennedy died in a skiing accident. Even lesser-known cousins met tragic ends, from car crashes to suicides. Greater than, to outsiders, these seem random tragedies. But to those who share the bloodline, the weight of expectation and history itself may be the real curse, an invisible inheritance of power, risk, and relentless public scrutiny. Greyheart Epilogue. The nature of a curse. Narrator. Greater than, what binds these families together? Was it truly supernatural malice, a hex whispered in the night? Or are curses born from guilt, grief, violence, and fame itself? Greater than, America's cursed families remind us, history is rarely clean. It stains the generations that follow. And whether the curse is in blood, in mind, or in myth, it is always hauntingly human. Musical note. Closing music. Slow piano fading into silence. Narrator. Softly. Greater than, thank you for joining us for this hour of macabre history. May you sleep well tonight, if you can. Pencil optional add-ons. If you'd like, I can also checkmark expand each chapter with direct quotes, letters, or diary excerpts historical fiction style. Checkmark create atmospheric sound cues and narration notes for a podcast video. Checkmark write an intro and outro for a specific host. Would you like me to expand this further into a fully detailed podcast script, or keep it as this outlined story?